Hello. Hi. Welcome to Tuesday. I am stopping the music. Okay. Hi. Happy Tuesday. Happy July 1st. Happy Canada Day, which I now know is a thing. I knew there was a thing. I couldn't have told you what day it was, but I knew it was a thing before. But yes, happy Canada Day. So today, technically, our offices are closed. So it'll probably just be me here today. I don't imagine much of our crew will be hopping online with us today, but I welcome anyone who wants to hop on and ask a question. I will be here. So I film this from home, so I can do this any day that I want to. That said, there is a small child that might end up in the video at some point. I will shoo her away, but just a heads up that might happen. And then, if you have a question, please put it in the chat. Or, I meant to switch it to, put it in the chat or don't email Kelly at pecan because she's not working today, or she shouldn't be. Email Tracy at pecan. And let me switch that real quick to Tracy. There. Look, see, it's like never even happened. So yes. Hello. If you are joining us, go ahead and put it in the chat where you are, what you're doing, why you're here. I'm sure no one listening at this point ever expected to be at this part of the internet. Welcome to learning about oil and gas minerals. We are here. We're doing this. I am your resident petroleum engineer and mineral appraiser, owner of Pecan Tree, and mineral appraiser for the public. So we have a public forum, a public oil and gas appraisal platform that you can go and learn more about your minerals, plug it in, and then we also do these live streams. We also do appraisals and lots of other stuff. I did want to start off with, I did check. Let me put a quick make sure my chat's actually working. I know that there is a delay. I just put a chat in there and I'm not actually seeing it. Five seconds while I test this. Wow, that's quite the delay. I put a chat in there and still hasn't popped up on my side. Okay, well, I will pull up. We will get some nice music going. While I figure this out. Oh, yeah, okay, so I can see on here that Fred said hello, but my little chat box isn't working. So hi, Fred. Let me get my chat box working, because I checked everything. I was like, I'm gonna be a professional today. I'm gonna actually... Okay, so the test message works. All right. I'm going to make this work. Gosh dang it. So we will cover what Canada Day is, because I didn't fully know that. I mean, as I said, I knew that our company is part Canadian. So hello, Canadian watchers and relatives and friends. Our COO is located in Canada. And I just went up and visited her, was it It felt like last week, but I think it was almost a month ago now. Got to meet her family. Our kids met. It was great. And yeah, that was my first time to Calgary. So it's beautiful up there right now, especially compared to the heat of Texas. So, highly recommend. Okay, so I have this open now. I have this here now. All right, I think it should work now. Ha! It works now. Look at that. Hey, Fred. It's Tuesday, but feels like a Monday. Yes. Feels like a Monday for sure. So, yeah, our childcare place is closed this week. I don't know why they closed the whole week, but here we are. And so it feels like I don't know what day it is. That is my feels like for sure. Okay, so I do have some plans for this live stream because I did expect it to be a relatively quiet one. Of course, anyone on here is allowed to ask questions, and you can email me if you do have something more involved that you'd like to ask a question about that has, like, I don't know, graphics or files or more information than you want to put in chat, or if you want to keep things relatively anonymous, you can go ahead and email me any details that you need to. Just let me know in the chat that you emailed me so I know to check my email. So that is my only rule with the chat or with emailing. And so I've had some questions come in over the week that I was going to handle, and most of them are related to our platform. And then I have some news stories, partly because it's been kind of a fun news week. Oh, Fred, you sent one via Kelly. Okay, let me message her, see if she's around. Where she could, actually, just go ahead and forward it to me if you're able to. Tracy at Pecan Triogy. That way I don't have to bug her on a day off. But Kelly, if you do happen to be watching, if you wanted to send that along, making sure she didn't actually send it along. That's happened before, and I just didn't check my 18 million emails. So, no, okay. But yeah, if you go ahead and like forward it to me, yes, thanks, yes. Okay, so if I switch over to our news stories. Oh yeah, I had this pulled up. So the first informal news stories was more of an educational moment. So I will pull this up first. Okay, so I was like, we'll go to just the original. This was the chatbot before chatbots was Wikipedia, right? The don't go to it for news. We're gonna go to it for news anyway. Information. I figure at this point, right, if Wikipedia is still around, it's got to be decent. So, Canada Day, National Day of Canada, a federal statutory holiday, celebrates the anniversary of Canadian Confederation. July of United Canadas, Nova Scotia and New Brunswick were united into a single dominion within the British Empire called the Dominion of Canada. I feel like this is the first time I'm hearing any of this. It must just be too long of a distance to go from Texas, all the way from Canada down to Texas to make it, to infiltrate all the Texas history, U.S. history, Austin history. But I don't know. We don't have Austin history in Texas. I feel like there's a lot of history that was not world history in my education, my public education. And I feel like this is the first time I'm hearing any of this. We are expanding our minds right now. Okay. So yeah. I mean, it looks pretty similar, so fireworks, I mean, what's not to like? So, you'll see the pictures? Yeah. So, in commemoration of this Canada Day, that is today, I figured we would start our first formal news story as a Canadian news story. Bum, bum, ba, bum, bum. I need to get one of those I have like a little soundboard right here next to me. Get one of those like news. Like, you know what I'm talking about. Okay, so LNG Canada ships its first cargo. So this is a $30 billion LNG Canadian project loaded its maiden LNG cargo from, I'm going to mispronounce this, but Kitimat, Canada's first ever export of liquefied natural gas, with it going towards South Korea. So this is, I think this is what we're going to be seeing, the next 10, 20 years. Some of the big major changes that we see as industry will be as liquefied natural gas becomes more of a global commodity rather than a local commodity. So this was interesting. I didn't even know that wow, I almost said Canada on live, worldwide, potentially. I didn't even know that Canada had an LNG project going, but it's just showing the importance of, to everyone, making this a shippable, transportable commodity, rather than historically it's been such a localized, gas had to have a local market in order to have a commodity price that was positive, right? Otherwise it was a very much of a burden. And so this is very interesting to me. I think that this really shows this is a global thing, not just necessarily, the Gulf Coast trying to make the most of its situation. So that was kind of interesting. Also, great picture. Next news story. Again, let's see. We've talked about this in past live streams, how the OPEC Plus production cuts and the tariffs have really upset the market in terms of just making it very unstable. And here's just a little more news coming from that particular stream, where this is from oilprice.com. I have a wide variety of news sources that just filter into my inbox, and I don't have a favorite, honestly. I just read them as they come in. But this one in particular is from oilprice.com. It's a news story from them. And it's that the OPEC plus countries, so the original announcement was that they were going to start unwinding their 2.2 million barrels a day of voluntary production cuts. And so that is a significant volume, we'll just say. If we look at this little chart here where it shows Saudi's crude exports, and we're at 7 million barrels a day at the end of May and into June. 2 million barrels on top of that, that's about a third, right, of this amount. So that's a very large amount of additional production. And, Saudi is just one country of OPEC plus, so the plus being Russia mostly. But so it's not an increase of 33%. It's less than that, but it's, just seeing one country's change. In this particular news story is saying that Saudi Arabia is increasing their output faster than assumed, and they're already hitting their strongest, production output since March 2024. So, I think this is just showing that we are indeed seeing what was threatened and what was promised would happen. And this is why commodity prices are continuing to struggle on the oil side. There was some temporary uptick in oil prices. Anytime there's political instability and war, that typically is a demand for oil. And there's been quite a bit of headlines lately that would be increased demand for oil. That this is kind of the counterbalance to that. So I don't think any mineral owner, anyone watching this particular YouTube live stream, doesn't need to pay too much attention to day-to-day fluctuations of oil and gas prices, but we'll hit it every now and then. Rig counts. I thought that this was kind of interesting. We have hit rig counts before on prior live streams, and there was the indication that things were going to affect activity, like the April tariff announcements and OPEC plus reduction of production cuts. Yes, that was going to start impacting activity, and we are starting to see that. And so this is a 5-year plot. I believe this is also from oilprice.com, but the child emerges. So this is also from oilprice.com. And if we look at right at the end, y'all can see my cursor, right? Yeah. Okay. I'll make it colored. Okay, here we go. So right here at the end of, oh, you can't see my colors. Okay, here, we'll do that. Right here, that's where those production cuts happened. And that is exactly what we're seeing, is that oil and gas activity. And that's indicated by people wanting to actually drill new wells, is across the board coming down. Like, there's definitely some basins that seem less affected than others. You can almost see that it's very hard to see, but in green here is the Eagle Ford little chunk, and that is the South Texas channel that goes across from Mexico over to Louisiana. That seems to have less of a negative impact than some of the other basins that are further away, like maybe the Williston or others, just grouped into others. But these stacked charts always make it hard to tell what particular one is contributing the most to the overall decline. But there's definitely an overall decline that we're seeing. And so the indications that we thought were going to happen are indeed happening. So I imagine that anyone watching this is also seeing that on their local level, that maybe they aren't getting as many offers. Maybe the offers aren't as strong. Maybe they're having a hard time making deals happen if you're on the deal side. Yeah, just slightly, if not major at this point. So I think the whole industry is definitely starting to feel it. And then the final update I had was related to lithium. I know that some people that watch this are following along with the lithium updates. And this is a lot of words. It's a wall of text. I'll try to summarize for you. This is from the NARO, which is the National Association of Royalty Owners, from their ROAR report. Royalty owner something news, I think. Now I'm curious what ROAR means, but they have a newsletter called ROAR that comes out once a month. And at the end of it was an update for mineral owners related to lithium. So there's a couple states that have been more involved in the lithium discussion than others. Arkansas has been really leading the conversation there. So the Oil and Gas Commission approved a 2.5% royalty rate on May 29th, making it the first state to actually put a number on paper. This, by the way, is a summary from Justin Williams, the Rocky Mountain president of NARO. And with that shiny new 2.5% royalty, operators are scrambling to figure out if existing lease language covers lithium under associated substances or if they need separate agreements. And, I don't know. I've heard some arguments as to why lithium has been handled separately. There was an attorney from Exxon, I believe, that presented at the Landmen's Association's national annual meeting. And, they had their reasons as to why it needed to be a much lower royalty rate than other other commodities and other items, saying that, well, you can't just use lithium as it's produced. You have to do all these things to it in order to make it a marketable commodity. And yes, but no one's pumping crude oil in their car either. There are some places where you can, but I really feel like it's more like the natural gas liquids idea than like the NGLs and the plant processed products that come off of the gas stream than it is this other thing that they're treating it. So I personally feel like 2.5% is taking advantage of early movers. But again, I'm not in it day to day. I'm not, seeing the full cycle. Sorry, I had to get a kid to turn the TV down. I'm sure I'm not seeing some part of the full cycle. 2.5 just seems low, but at least we have numbers to start working with. In Texas, no lithium legislation is passed yet, but the Railroad Commission is developing guidelines for lithium ownership. Fred says, I feel like lithium is just like crude oil. I think in a lot of ways it is. Like there's extraction methods that make it very similar to West Texas water floods. Like one of the arguments was, oh, well, you only get 1% of lithium out of the water or something extremely low. And my very first job was working a water flood where you get 1% oil off of 99% water. So like how is that different? And we, even with extremely old royalty rates, you're looking at 12.5% royalty. So it seems a little out of balance. The other thing that I would need to see in order to really see that comparison is the pricing being applied to it, because there is the argument that let's take jet fuel, for example. Jet fuel is extremely expensive per barrel, but the royalty owners are not receiving that amount per barrel for every barrel of NGL that's on their check, even though they're getting 12.5% of that, because it is a blended output that you're getting. And there's all the costs, and there are a lot of leases that don't include those production costs in order to transform the product from a natural gas liquid at the wellhead, or the gas at the wellhead, the wet gas at the wellhead, to a natural gas liquid, which is just the liquid form of like propane, for example. If you think of propane being produced in gas form at the well, it's condensed, made into a liquefied version of propane that they can sell by itself. And that propane has a higher dollar value per barrel or gallon, however it's priced, than the gas did. But I think that's the final piece that I would need to see, because if you're getting 2% of an extremely high dollar product, then that could be apples to apples than getting 12.5% for a mid to low priced commodity. So I think that'd be the final piece that we need to look into. I just think it's weird it's being handled different is all I'm saying. Just, makes it one more thing. And I think caliche, like gravel pits, surface waters, there's a wide range of coal, sand, any product that you can sell that is a commodity, that is a natural commodity that you're getting a royalty for because you own the land, but you're not necessarily, they all have their own percentage. And I think that's where we're hitting into it, is that it's like this blend between the mining world and the natural products world and the oil and gas world, because it's being produced from oil and gas in a very similar form as oil and gas, but it's more similar. I think that's where it's getting weird. I'm following along. So Texas, no legislation's passed yet for who actually owns the lithium in the produced water. And as mentioned here, the big question is whether lithium in produced water belongs to the mineral owners or the surface owners. Traditionally, water is not a mineral, and so the water is a surface owner's right. To like any water that is produced or found belongs to the surface owner. So if you were to go out to someone's property, drill a water well, you would pay royalties to the surface owner. While if you drilled an oil well, you would pay royalties to the mineral owner if they were two different people. But then if you're getting a component out of the water, again, I see that more as water floods, where we're getting there happens to be little molecules of oil like floating around in swarms of water. Like, where is that line between one molecule of lithium versus a glob of oil in the water? It's still something, and it's not water, right? I don't know. That's the question in Texas. In Oklahoma, Corporation Commission got smart and implemented performance incentives, including a 1% to 2% investment tax credit for lithium extract operations. Meanwhile, Stardust Power is already cranking out 50,000 metric tons annually like it's no big deal. Since Stardust Power is already running, they're working within existing frameworks somehow, but specific lease arrangements are under wraps. North Dakota Industrial Commission awarded research grants. And it looks like Lithium Harvest seems to be handling this through midstream partnerships rather than direct mineral owner negotiations, which I could see that because that's like, again, that's like NGL. Most mineral owners don't have like a propane term in their lease. It's just considered a byproduct of oil and gas production. But again, lithium's not a hydrocarbon, so where does it fall? So I don't know. Anyway, that's been kind of interesting to follow along with. Fred, lithium then is like oil. It'll be interesting to follow along. I agree. So go to here. Now I had this. So one more news story is we have a new homepage for our informational site, we'll call it. So if you wanted to think of Pecan Estimate as our app site and this as our, what do we do? Who are we site? So pecantreog.com, we have a brand new webpage up and running. Thank you to Good Fight Creative and Jesse's team helping us get this launched. On this, you can see our products portfolio. So we have Pecan Portfolio is one of our new products, and we're trying to get more information as to what it actually is up there. We've been spending so long developing the actual app and product itself that we haven't put out much marketing information about it. So trying to get our website, a little more cleaned up and informative, especially leading into this narrow convention that we'll be at in July this month. It's July, guys. Wow. Okay. And then goes into more information about what we do in terms of reports and appraisals and consulting. So if you have any questions on that, we are constantly improving this site and hope to see it get better and better as we continue to roll out more things. With that, our office hours will be announced eventually on here. For right now, we're still working on the workflow, but we'll be putting more information on our blog, including model updates, new features, live streams, new videos, anything that we need to put, we'll be putting here. And then also, if you want to know more about our engineering model, that is under model here, and that goes into this is not us, that's the stock photo. This goes into what we're actually doing on our business side in terms of our proprietary model, if you ever want to know more about what's going into that. So we don't go fully into all the secret sauce, but we go into the methodology. So again, if you want to know more about that, we will keep this updated as to what we're doing and how we're going about things. Okay. So before I hit some of the questions I had on Pecan Estimate, Fred, let me pull up your email and I'll switch to here so I don't accidentally pull up anything else. Okay. I have too many windows open now. Okay. Okay, Fred, your question was on the Pecan Tree Estimator online system. So great, that plays in perfectly with what we're doing. So let's see. Is there a way to exclude certain wells that are showing up because they originate on our tract on a pad, but they're horizontal so they don't actually pull from under our lease? There's some going north that may also be in the estimate from March. Okay, so let me get this in a place where I don't accidentally like show specific things. That didn't copy and paste like I expected. Start capture. Okay, so yes, the short answer is yes. We do have a way to do that, and that was one of the questions. So we are adding more ways to learn about how to do how to use our site. But since we started off using it for our internal purposes, the first step was to let it actually do the things we needed it to do. So now that we're rolling out to having, you know, public access and subscriptions to our internal service, now we're figuring out places where we need to put in more information, and this is one of them. Okay, so if I switch to here, there. So what Frank is saying is that there's some wells here to the north that are being included in the parcel, and what our system does is it estimates which wells you should be in, and so it's seeing that the well path is within this tract, and it's estimating, okay, for this particular well, we must not have the wellbore survey. We just have the like top-down survey. We don't have the depths that it's at. We are working on getting more of those filled out. But because our system doesn't know that yet, it's estimating that this much of the well is in the tract. And he's asking if there's a way to exclude that. And so I will hop in and show how to do that. So we'll go ahead and, if you're on our site, pecanestimate.com, you can sign up. It's free to sign up. And so I'm just going to, well, I'm not going to create a dummy account. I'm just going to go ahead and log in with mine. I was going to log in without going off of that screen, but I decided I don't know what people could do with seeing just very basic stuff about, you know, stars instead of the actual password itself, but you never know. Oh, I'm on incognito mode. That's what it is. Okay, let me switch. Okay. Should I have the music playing when I do this type of stuff? Probably. Okay. All right. So now we are back on our website, and if you log in at first, you'll just see the word tracks up here. Portfolio and wells is part of our portfolio product subscription, and you just send me an email if you have questions about that for now. We also have a little more information on our main marketing page, but if you just see tracks, that's all we need to worry about for right now. Although now that I think about it, you know, Fred, I think I know what the problem is. I think you have to have portfolio in order to do the well filtering thing that I'm about to show. So I can go ahead and enable it until because we haven't established the way to subscribe like natively on the site for portfolio. So I'll go ahead and enable that for your account as soon as I'm off the live, and I'll show you, this will be the heads up of what you will see. Because most likely you're only seeing the word tracks up here when you log in, and we'll need to see this portfolio here. So if I go to portfolios, and I'm gonna hop over here just because I think I have some names I don't want. Switch down. So you'll see a list of any portfolios that you have, and I'm gonna hop over to my YouTube portfolio. Now we'll go back to desktop. So once you're in your portfolio, this is our dashboard and insights that we've been developing, and Pecan Scope is the extremely high level, like you don't have to purchase it each time you want to see it. It's just part of the subscription. But under tracks, this is where you can see any tracks that you've added. So we're going to go to add a new tract. In what state were you in? So I kind of want to add the same. Okay, I'll just pick an area where I know that there's horizontal wells and grab something that, is slightly across the line, that has a similar situation. Okay, so here, let's assume that I have, here's a good one. So let's assume Texas and Upton. So we're in Texas. Let's just use this since I'm already here as an example. Let's say that this is my parcel, and I know by looking at this that these horizontal wells that have their surface location within this boundary most likely are not paying the people who own minerals within this boundary, because the most likely situation is that they're coming off and then they're going down and they're hitting the reservoir in this section down here. Like they're probably touching the reservoir, the first take point, as they call it, is probably down here. And so the people who are in this section aren't getting paid for it because it's just not in their lands. So let's say that this is your tract, and we'll go ahead and one of the next questions I was going to get to is, how do you even, if you have a legal description, how do you find that? But let's say that you know where it is, you draw it, you put your lease royalty rate if it's leased. If it's not leased, we do recommend just putting in a placeholder of 12.5% or 0.125 because this is in decimals. And then if you also don't know how many acres you own, just put in 1. But if you do not know how many acres, so you put in how many acres. And then we'll let you know how many gross acres are selected. Right now we have, so mineral and overriding are the ones that work the best right now. We have behind the scenes some work to get a lot more types of interest in there. We're just going to select mineral interest, and I'm going to put it in, let me put it in the portfolio real quick. You can select what portfolio you want it to be in here. Okay. So I just put it in a random portfolio, and all of these additional fields are informational only. They aren't actually doing anything at this point. We do have plans to incorporate information from the additional fields at some point, such as if there's a depth limitation or a certain decimal, or something in here that you want to include in the valuation. Right now, anything that's in here that needs to be included in the value is something that we have to do custom rather than instantaneously on the property. So we'll go ahead and create that tract and click on it to get to it. And so now we have the tract, and this is the view within Pecan Portfolio. Actually, I think this is the view of just like tracks by itself too. So you should be seeing this view, but interest overrides is likely has a little lock symbol next to it if you don't have pecan portfolio. And the interest overrides is what we need to get to in order to filter out wells. And so let's say that, I actually haven't ran this one yet to see if this will include it or not. Most likely we err on the side of providing the wells in the list and then just saying it's not likely that you have an interest in it, but so that they're there just in case you do, because there's a lot of odd situations that cause people to have interest in certain wells that wouldn't be typical, but we want to have the ability to manually include them. And so if right now when I created the tract, it ran all the values and things behind the scenes so that when I refresh this, we will get a list of the wells and why, like what we think is the most likely interest and why. And so we are showing that with that 1 acre that I put in, there's a very, very tiny estimated royalty interest. And as I was saying before, so this, the Bozeman unit is the ones that are to the south there. So if I go back to the map and I look at it here, so these Bozeman and Missoula wells are the ones that are likely being pulled in. And I think it's only really pulling in these as the high likelihood well, and it's assuming that these are too small of an interest to be high likelihood, or too low of an overlap to be high likelihood, because we do filter ones out. We call them high confidence versus low confidence. And so if I uncheck both of like producing and high confidence, this is where you can see every single possible well that we think could be in some way associated with this property. And that's where the Missoula and Whitefish and Butte and Bozeman wells come in. And we'll also put like what the estimated interest is for all of those. But if we just want to look at, I guess also, so unit factor is how much of the property, like the tract, overlaps the well's unit that we're seeing. And tract factor is how much that tract is made up of that unit. So it's like, it's easier to explain with a diagram, and I'll have a diagram the next time I explain it. But it's two different sides of a similar coin. It's like, it's trying to give a feel for how confident are we? Like what's making us think that you have an interest in that well? So basically the higher these two numbers are, the more likely you have an interest in that well. So we filter out based on our criteria which wells we think you probably don't have an interest in, because there's only 1% of the unit is overlapping with your tract. It's a pretty low possibility. And none of your tract is actually, it's such a low percentage, it's less than 0.5. There's such a low percentage that some of these are your actual wells that we just filter them out. So if we say only high confidence wells, that does still leave ones that we know from looking at it earlier, we still know that we don't have interest in because the take point issue that we had before. We do go in and manually adjust that whenever it's a client property, but when it's like a random property that we haven't looked at, we're really depending on data. And we are talking to a really, really good data provider about getting that higher quality data, where we probably would charge an upgrade fee to that higher quality data, but you would have access to something that I honestly don't know anyone who pays for this high quality data. It'd be like a pass-through charge. So ideally, this type of issue goes away in the next 6 to 12 months, depending on how long it takes to get this off the ground. But if you are interested in that high quality data and like subscribing through us for little chunks of that high quality data, or working directly with a data provider that has extremely high quality data and then utilizing our service with that, let us know, because we're trying to provide that feedback to that data provider to help get this off the ground. Anyway, that's a side tangent. But let's say, so back to the recursion, how do we filter this out? So all that to say, you can come in here and just put zeros, and then that will cause those wells to, instead of using that estimated interest, it will use a zero instead. You can do that for the working interest or the royalty interest, and hit save. One feature that will be probably coming out within the next week or two, because it's on the top of our list just internally wanting to have, is just a simple include, exclude, like select button. So I could just say, don't include these wells, as opposed to saying, or include this. I know I have interest in the Western wells in this unit. I don't know what the interest is, but I know I have interest. I know I'm getting paid. I'm still finding maybe the rest of the puzzle. Or I was told that I have interest in these wells, but I haven't seen the division order yet, for example. So likely that will be, if you're watching this a month from now, the solution. But for right now, you just go ahead and put a zero. I personally, if I know that I have interest in the well and I'm still trying to figure it out, I'll put like a 1. That will overstate the value, but I at least know that I'm not 100% owner in that well. It's like having to go back and figure it out later. You can also go in and put like a 0.000001 or something extremely small, and that will also give you a heads up that I know I own this, but I just don't know what it is yet. So then once I hit save, and if we go back to the home for that tract, then now all the numbers will only use the wells that we were looking at. So, and then also when you purchase a pecan estimate, it will use those overwritten values as opposed to using the estimated values. So we know that for the most part, people are really confident in only a couple things in this industry, but one of them is, hey, I got paid or didn't get paid, and on my paycheck, there's a little thing that says my decimal interest, and everything else is usually much, much harder to find. So we're trying to make it easier to lean on the things that you know, and us to help you out with the things that are harder. So that, if we go to the well list, you'll also be able to see which ones were overwritten here, because it will show in this well interest rate used, it will show a purple number as opposed to trying to find the ones that we made go to zero. It's always harder when it goes to zero, because it's like you're intentionally trying to remove it. So you don't want it to show up in things, but then it's like, how do you show that it's not showing up in things? But if I go over, I'll just go ahead and show when it's, let's say that you knew that you had a 0.02. And I will say that if our estimate is dramatically off what you're actually getting paid, that is like a yellow flag, maybe, that something might be programmed in incorrectly in the info. So let's say that this is 0.02 and 0.03, and I saved that. And kind of got to give it a minute to go through all the different, so once you save, it reruns a lot of the processes. So you just got to give it a little bit to do all those things. So we just gave it a minute, and I will sip my homemade iced latte while we do that. Okay. And then now we have the well interest list. And you know what? It's actually not turning purple and blue, or purple like it used to. But this is definitely using the overwritten decimal. We see the 0.03 and 0.02 that we saw before. And so it is using it. I don't know where the purple went. It used to turn purple. That's our developers including stuff. Okay. Fred, you're saying the ability to exclude or include in the report would be excellent. The reports in your system provide the great, by the way. Thank you. When I'm logged in, I only see the tracks and not the portfolio. Yeah, that's what I was expecting that to be an issue. We're going to be rolling out I believe we called it Light Starter. I can't remember what we named the subscription level of if you just have a 1 or 2, or I think it's up to 5 tracks that you want to have portfolio level options for, like interest overwrites and alerts and uploading files. And we are expanding the kind of more the maintenance, like making sure that you're getting paid correctly on these things and making it easy to see which wells you should be getting paid for, and when there's a new permit issued, when there's a new division order that you need to QC. If you need to research more about a well, like let's say that I wasn't getting paid on these Missoula wells, and I wanted to look into why. I could click on that well. It would take me into the well's information page. It would show me why the system thinks that that I should be getting paid. And it shows, okay, the Missoula well, we're showing that has a unit that's probably similar to this outline in blue, and the tract overlaps it in this purple. So that's why we're showing that, hey, you might have a small interest in this this well because of this little bit of overlap. This well might be considered draining from your property right here. And then you can see which tracks are contributing to that. And if there's multiple tracks, like let's say that you owned down here and up here, and you had 2 different tracks that were both giving you interest in the well. Our developer / co-owner / partner, Jason Hooten, went through a really big effort to make it to where it would allocate across those, where if you inputted that you were getting paid a certain amount, it would take your percentage and say, okay, well, this amount of that payment was from this tract and this amount is from this tract. And all of our numbers would be allocated across those tracks appropriately. But then if you wanted to look more into it, you can go to the state well file link. We personally use this a lot internally, so we wanted to have it easy access. And that's how we get to the GIS information and from the state. And then also you can get to drilling permits and well logs and the imaged records that the state has. So this is a Texas well, so it pulls up the Texas GIS, but if it was a North Dakota well, it'd pull up North Dakota's, or Louisiana, pull up Louisiana's. And that's a really easy way to get to more information about that well and the unit for that well. I use this probably more often than almost any other feature on the site. And then we'll also give you, estimated revenue for that well. Right now, our main data source is Well Database, so we'll give you the link to Well Database also. So if you're a subscriber to Well Database, you can get to the detailed information, and if you're not a subscriber, it will give you the high level of what Well Database offers for that well. So they are bringing together all the data from the public websites and making it digestible. And then we subscribe to that, pull it in, and transform it to be our pecan estimate information. So all the valuation sides of it and what does that mean for you. Okay. So yes, I completely agree on that one. So hopefully we'll have that out soon. And by the way, the entry level subscription to Portfolio, I think we're looking at $20 a month or something, maybe $25. I'm just going to say $30 to be safe, but somewhere in that ballpark is the entry level. And then that gets you access to everything other than the pecan estimates. And the pecan estimate is like our secret sauce that gives you all the information as to how we're coming up with the values. So you'll get like the high level value. You just won't get all the details into like what reservoirs and the how much we're allocating to each reservoir and whatnot. And then we also have more reports that are coming out over the next, couple months that, this will be like a report section down here. So let's see. The other question we had, and Fred also happy to answer more questions. You get like a special one-on-one with me today. But the other question, and I know that she's not watching right now, but we had a question sent in, and I'll send her this little clip. So she was wondering how to build in, she had the legal description, and she was trying to figure out how to build in that property because she knew it existed. She knew it was the right legal description. She just couldn't figure out where to go. And so I'm going to actually log out to do this. So you can see, we'll all see the same thing. You can actually build properties while logged out. Just to save them, you have to create an account. But to find it, you don't have to be logged in. So I'm going to do it not logged in. It's an Oklahoma property. And if I pull up her email off camera so I can... Oh, Fred, I'm sorry. You had a second half of that question I completely ignored. Let me... I will email you my response to that one, just because I just want to hit this one example real quick, and then I want to spend a little more than a minute on your answer. So I'll hit that one through email. Also, as a thank you for tuning in today. Okay. One second. Okay, I have her legal description now. And I'll switch over to desktop again. Okay, so her legal description that she's trying to find is, I'm going to put it in the chat so that y'all can see it too. She has this on a deed saying that one of her people that she works with owns this property. And how do we find that? So I'm going to go ahead and show you how to find that. Also, if you're watching this, make sure to like, subscribe, do all the things, because we all know that the only reason I'm really doing this is the real notability and, just the pride that it gives you having your 8-year-old think that you're a YouTuber. And I just really want one of those plaques that I can put. No, just kidding. But it does mean a lot having the subscriptions and the notifications. It really helps get this out to more people. So if you're watching this, please remember to like and subscribe, do all the things. And I don't know why YouTube decides to not notify people of live streams, even though they click notify. I get told that on a weekly basis. Hey, I didn't get notified. It tells me, hey, we didn't notify people that were supposed to get notified, but it doesn't say why. I don't know what the fix is for that. So yeah, maybe just set an alarm. We'll try to do this the same time each week, so that it's not as confusing in the future. But okay, so let's say we're looking at Section 24, Township 9 North, 20 West, and then this is the north half of the southeast quarter and the south half of the northeast quarter. Sorry, I just got a text from my mom. Sorry, Mom, I think you missed the live stream. But technically we're still going. Okay, so we don't have what county. Let me pull up, she said earlier what county it was. Okay, Washita? I would say Washita. So we'll just say Washita County, which is here. So what I did is I went to that front page, went to the state that I was looking at, and up in the top corner we have options for ways to find things. So we're gonna, since we have a legal description, we're gonna look at the land search, and we're in Oklahoma, and we're gonna go down to Ouachita County, and it'll zoom you in there. And now we have the option to, you can either, like, if you see the one that you are looking for, you can select it here, or you can add more filters to get closer to it. So we're going to select the township of 9 North and the range of 20 West. And then we also know it's section 24. So we can get like right to it by going to section 24. So now we only have one search result. So then we can click on that search result and it will zoom us right into it. And so if we want to just leave it there and just build the tract based on this description, we can. If we want to get a little more fine-tuned on it, you can like move these corners around. So I know that the north half of the southeast quarter and the south half of the northeast quarter is gonna be this box here, because we're looking at, you kind of have to read it backwards. So we're looking at the southeast quarter and the northeast quarter, which, so if you have north, south, west, east, we're looking at, this is the northeast quarter and this is the southeast quarter. And so I can start moving these around and get to the thing that I'm trying to draw. And you don't have to get perfect with this. There is a little issue right now. We're working on making it a little harder to accidentally click off the property like I just did. If you're having troubles where you're clicking off the property, go ahead and create it, and I'll show you how to edit the property after. But so if you're careful, you can do it to where you don't accidentally click off. So right now it's saying it wants me to log in to create. So I'm going to go ahead and log in. We'll do this. We will fix that. So you saw what I did there. There's going to be once you're logged in, and honestly, if you know that you're going to be saving a property, I do recommend logging in first and then creating it. That would avoid that little bug that we just ran into just now, which we are going to fix that, but it would avoid just accidentally like clicking off of it or something. So yeah, go ahead and save it to your tracks. And then once you do have that tracked, then you can, let's say that you can like jump to different properties with that little search button that I just showed up there. So you can get to pages, you can get to properties, you can get to states, and anything that we have in our system, you can just start searching. But let's say that you drew a property like this one and you wanted to edit it after the fact. If you go to info on that property, you can update the geometry, and the update geometry opens a very similar like window to what we were just looking at. If you get it to where it's only like half the screen like this, if I just resize this, that usually causes it to pop up the entire screen. So if you just, here we go. And so now I can zoom in, and all of these little dots on the side here are the things that we can move around. And then you won't accidentally click on a different property then. If you click off of it, you can click back on it and make the dots show up again. It may take a little getting used to figure out how to move the dot. Usually if you see the little hand, that means that you need to click again. So if I see the little hand, then that means I'm just going to drag the map. While if I see the little crosshairs and I'm on top of a dot, then I'm going to move the corner. So we are going to be adding, so if you notice in the last one, you could see the quarter lines, like the grid in the background. We are going to be adding that to this map. We're trying to get all of our maps more in sync, but for right now, that is how you do it. If you have extra points that you're trying to get rid of, if you're able to move it around, so I'm clicking on my mouse, dragging it around, so I know that that point is activated. If I hit delete on my keyboard, it removes that point. So I'm going to grab this one, move it around so I know it's activated, and I can hit delete on that point. So if you just have extra points or you accidentally like do something weird like this, click on the point, move it around to know that you have the right one, and then hit the delete button on your keyboard, and then that would kind of reset it and get rid of that point. So if you need to fine tune, or let's say that you were quickly adding something and you accidentally like had it way far off, or you had the wrong section, you can move it to the section over in this menu. We do recommend that you get as close to as possible for the original, because there's just a lot of computations that are happening in the background, and it keeps things from just getting weird on your alerts and everything else. But if you accidentally drag and move it and you want to move it back to where it's as like you're just perfectionist on it, you can zoom really far in and just drag it back over to the corner. And there, now you're zoomed in. Now, if you notice, I got rid of all the dots on that corner, so I could either drag one of these up, or if I didn't want to do that, I can create a new dot by clicking on. So if you'd look, some of these dots have a white outline around it, and some of them don't. So if I click on the ones that don't have a white outline, it creates a new point that I can move around. So if I need to get really specific as to what's happening in this one particular area, that's how you would do it. Is you would create extra points by clicking on here and moving those dots around. And then again, if I accidentally created one, I can move it around, hit the delete button, move it around, hit the delete button. So once you're done, you hit save, and then that saves the geometry. From then on out, it will use that new geometry that you just created. And this is my workflow that I'm going through also for when I work on client projects. Also in the info for that tract, you can edit the geometry. You can also edit the tract information. So we have these fields by default, but again, I think we showed it earlier in the stream. If you hit this pencil button, you can edit those, and then you can also hit display all, and these are all the fields that we give you that you can store information, including custom fields. So if you want to store like a custom ID or a custom informational note or text or amount or something, that's where you can put it. And then there's notes also, you can store anything else in. Yeah, we will be adding upload files coming soon. Alerts are built in, but it's the very first version of alerts. We'll be improving the alerts and making them more functional going forward, but the very, very initial alerts are in there, so you can mark them as read. We'll let you know if there's new wells or if things change significantly. And then all of that gets rolled up into your portfolio. So you can see all of the wells that you have interest in across all your tracks by clicking on wells in the main like portfolio wells tracks across the top. Once you are a portfolio subscriber, this will aggregate all your wells across all your tracks together. So if you have lots of different tracks that are all being paid by, we'll just say, I always go to Chevron. We'll say Crown Quest. You can look at all the stuff in your portfolio that's related to a certain operator, and it will sum it up by that operator, and will also give you what revenue to expect from that operator. So if you get a check from let's see, Apache, we'll let you know what wells you should expect from that operator, which tracks it's associated with. So you can always click on that well to see which tracks, like why it's being included in your list of wells, and then also how much to expect from the operator, and which operator even just to contact. So I think that's enough for today. I'll go back to here. So thanks again for joining. If you joined us today, again, if you have questions for future live stream office hours, go ahead and email them to me or email them to Kelly. We will get the question answered either in a live stream or it'll be added to our queue to answer in a future live stream, or I'll just respond or have our support team respond if it's related to like support for the app. All right. Thanks again and have a wonderful week. Happy Canada Day and happy 4th of July for US watchers coming up. That's Friday, I believe, right? Like I said, this whole week is what day is it type of week. So, all right. Have a great day and feel free to check out the rest of our videos that we have that YouTube will probably recommend like somewhere in here, and see you next time.